Joining me now from Athens is the former Greek Minister of National Economy and Finance, Dr. Yannis Papantonio. He was the main architect of the country's economic reforms in the late 1990s that led to the introduction of the euro to Greece. In the studio, I have Dr. Alexander Merchev, head of a Washington-based consultancy that deals mainly with economic growth, industrial expansion and restructuring issues. With Dr. Merchev is economist Mark Weisbrot, who is co-director of the Center for Economic and Policy Research. It is a US-based think tank that promotes debate on important economic issues. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Minister, let me start with you. This is Minister Yannis Papantonio in Athens. You were the Greek finance minister when the euro was introduced to Greece. The country is now in turmoil. We have protests on the streets, and the government has been forced to implement some very strict, very severe austerity measures, including freezes on salaries for public sector workers, as well as a freeze on pensions, as we've just been reporting. How did Greece arrive at this situation?
Well, Greece made a very great effort to accede to the Eurozone in the 90s, and may I remind you that the public deficit was 12% of GDP in 93. It fell down to 3% in 99, while inflation was 14% in 93 and fell to 2.5% in 99. And moreover, growth resumed, and for 11 consecutive years, Greece had a 4% growth per year, and it was the second fastest growing country in the Eurozone. So overall, the accession was successful. The point is that after the accession took place in the year 2000, Greece took it easy. It didn't succumb to the necessary disciplines for ensuring its continued participation in the Eurozone on successful terms. The fiscal deficit widened dangerously. It reached close to 13% in 2009. The public debt exceeded 113%, while, and what is even more important than the fiscal discrepancies, competitiveness weakened very much. In the 6 years of conservative government, from 2004 to 2009, competitiveness weakened by 23% in unit labor costs compared to Germany. And moreover, no reforms have been undertaken in the economy, no privatizations, no liberalizations, nothing of any nature to transform the Greek economy to a knowledge economy. Right. And Greece remains now a very uncompetitive country. So the challenge is very big, and the present government is trying to redress
Okay, well, Minister, let me ask you this. You've given us those reasons. Here's one of the reasons put forward by the Brookings Institution, which is based here in Washington. It is going to be publishing a study which says that bribery, patronage and other public corruption are major contributors to the country's ballooning debt, depriving the Greek state each year of the equivalent of at least 8% of its gross domestic product, or more than 20 billion euro. That's about $27 billion.
This is broadly correct. The great sick man in Greek economy is the state, is the public apparatus. And this is expressed in two ways. First of all, there's a lot of tax evasion because the collecting system is very inefficient and partially corrupt. And also there is a big waste in government spending, which owes to the very close links between government and parties, the governing party, which means that governing parties have a tendency to inflate the number of public servants in order to serve their party interests. And moreover, there is a lot of debt and waste in various public corporations. Of course, these are chronic problems which have been inflated or deflated according to who governs Greece. In our time, when Greece acceded to the Eurozone, both these problems were very severely curtailed. Tax evasion was combated, and also waste and party recruitments were limited to a very low level. Okay. Unfortunately, however, as I said, after the accession, things changed, and these problems have swollen again to the extent that Greece is now out of control in terms of both the public sector and competitiveness.
Dr. Merchev, looking at those conditions that these countries have to meet, what is the future for the euro? Are we going to see some countries now breaking away and adopting their own currencies?
There are a number of speculations in this direction, but I don't see for now any way that this would happen in the near future. Simply, even the way that the intervention took place, and I would fully agree with the remarks that has been made, is signifying the political nature of the project rather than the simply economical nature of the project. In that respect, the most important is not what has been given, the most important how. And here we have first the speed, the boldness, and I would further set the decisiveness of the European leadership. In that respect, I don't think that the euro is in danger. But on the other hand, and I would like to clarify further, we are going most probably to see a new model of relations in the European Union that is currently emerging. It's unsustainable, like for Greece, what has been said about the public sector. It's important. But hardly this whole arrangement that has been worked so nice in the course of the last 10 years is sustainable in the long run. So at the end of the day, we are going to see a new way of restructuring even the debt. But most importantly, the financial system that has brought to this, probably unified in a way fiscal policy, probably a set of measures that would really try to go to the core of the issues.
Would you see any kind of overall devaluation?
No. At the moment, I believe it's going to fluctuate pretty nervously together with the market. I believe also would like to add to the arguments why this whole approach is probably a little bit of the point, even though it's going to work for now, and I believe it's going to, and the markets are reacting quite positively. Simply, it's addressing much more the liquidity problem, and it's treating the crisis liquidity not as a solvency. At the end of the day, we are going to hit the wall of the solvency issues that are going to underline the success of the whole project. Most probably, we are going to see a transformation of the euro, and it's going to be jittery, it's going to be up and down, but at the end of the day, would like to reiterate, it's a political project to a large extent. So to the extent that we have a political will of the leadership of the European Union, in particular Germany and France, we are going to see a pretty smooth sail.
Okay, let's go back to Athens, to Minister Papantonio there.
Yes.
Minister, there's been a great deal of opposition in Greece to the measures that the government is taking, the austerity measures that it is taking, the laws that it has just passed. How is the government going to meet that challenge now, which is being posed to them on the streets of Athens and other cities around Greece?
Well, austerity is always a very costly thing in political and social terms. I think the government's main hope, besides trying to convince the people that this is a lesser evil, so to speak, than default, is to create conditions for a faster recovery of the economy. And there I would not entirely agree with what has been said just before in your studio, because, of course, fiscal consolidation produces recession. On the other hand, it enhances confidence, and confidence may help both consumer and investment spending. And moreover, in Greece, we do have enormous potential for productivity increase through structural reforms, through privatizations, through liberalizing the economy from all sorts of shackles and obstacles to entrepreneurship. So if we exploit all this productivity potential by deregulating and privatizing the economy and liberalizing markets, I believe that conditions for faster recovery can be created, so that by the end of next year, the recovery will create the resources to alleviate the pain that will be felt by citizens by the austerity measures. Now, the second point I would like to make concerns Europe. I fully agree with American remarks that monetary union is just a monetary union, not a political union. You cannot sustain a monetary union just by having a central European bank. You do have to have unitary, unified fiscal policy, strong fiscal coordination, and moreover bailout mechanisms for failing states, as has happened with California. So long as these elements are missing from the European edifice, of course its long-term sustainability and survival are questioned. This mechanism agreed yesterday is an ad hoc mechanism, and I'm afraid that the markets will try to test it. What we require is a permanent institutional mechanism, both on the fiscal side and on the bailout side, so as to convince markets that Europe has the will to survive. But of course, this would need a great leap forward in European integration. As you know, there are many voices in that, differing voices, so there will be a very big struggle in the months and years ahead as to what extent the Eurozone can evolve into a fully fledged economic and political union. If it does, it will survive. If it doesn't, of course, it will face the danger of dissolution or breakup.